In the last two episodes, we covered the core coding workflows and plan more, how Gemini CLI works on your local code base. In this episode, we go outside the code base. MCP server integration is how you connect Gemini CLI to the rest of your stack, GitHub, databases, Slack, Google Drive, internal APIs, anything. Once an MCP server is connected, Gemini can read your issues, query your schema, check your docs, and act on external systems, all from the same session where it's reading your code. This is a significant capability jump. So let's get into it. MCP stands for Model Context Protocol. It's an open standard that defines how AI models communicate with external tools and services. The idea is simple. Instead of every AI tool building its own bespoke integrations with GitHub, Postgres, Slack, and so on, MCP defines a standard interface. Any tool that speaks MCP can connect to any MCP server. Build the server once, use it with any compatible client. For Gemini CLI, this means a rapidly growing ecosystem of ready-made integrations you can plug in, and a consistent way to build your own if something you need doesn't exist yet. An MCP server exposes three things to Gemini CLI. First is tools. Callable functions Gemini can invoke, like list open pull request or query this table. These work exactly like Gemini's built-in tools. Gemini decides when to call them based on the task. Next is resources. Contextual data the server exposes. Files, API payloads, database schemas that you can reference with the add syntax directly in your prompt. And the third is prompts. Predefined prompt templates that the server exposes that become slash commands inside Gemini CLI. If a connected server defines a review PR prompt, you can invoke it with slash review PR, like any built-in command. All three show up automatically in slash MCP command once the server is connected. MCP servers communicate with Gemini CLI over one of three transports, and knowing which one to use determines how you configure the server. Standard input-output is for local servers. Gemini CLI launches the server as a subprocess, a Node script, a Python process, a compiled binary, or a Docker container, and communicates with it over standard input and output. This is the most common setup for development tools. Next is SSE, Server Sent Events. This is for remote servers that push events over HTTP. You point Gemini at a URL and it connects. And the last one is Streamable HTTP. This is for remote servers using the newer streaming HTTP transport. Configuration is similar to SSE, a URL and optional headers. The official GitHub MCP server hosted endpoint uses this transport. For everyday use, you won't need to think about this much. Server documentation will tell you which transport to use and show you the config block. All the MCP server configuration lives in settings.json under an MCP server's key. These are the two scopes: settings.json inside the .gemini folder in home, global available in every project, settings.json inside the .gemini folder in a project directory, project specific only available when you are working in that project. Most servers go in the global config. Here is what a standard input-output server configuration looks like using the GitHub MCP server running in Docker. The command and argument tell Gemini how to launch the server. The environment block passes environment variables to the server process. This syntax expands a variable from your environment or from this file. Never hardcode tokens directly in the JSON. One naming tip for the server alias: avoid underscores. Use my-server, not my_server. Gemini CLI uses underscores as separators internally when building tool names. So an underscore in the alias breaks the naming convention. Two other config properties worth knowing about: include tools lets you specify and allow list of tool names from a server. Only those tools will be available to Gemini even if the server exposes more. Exclude tools does the opposite. a deny list of tools to block. If a tool appears in both lists, exclude tool takes precedence. These are useful for limiting Gemini's access to only the tools relevant to your workflow and for reducing the number of tools Gemini has to reason about at once. For a remote HTTP server, it's simpler. Just a URL and headers. Same result, different transport. The hosted endpoint is easier to set up since you don't need Docker. But the Docker approach works offline and gives you more control over the server version. For remote servers that use OAuth 2.0 rather than static tokens, common with enterprise and Google Cloud services, the configuration uses an OAuth block instead of static headers, and you authenticate interactively using the /mcp auth server name after startup. We will cover that in the verification section. Once servers are configured, the Gemini MCP subcommand group lets you manage them from the shell without opening settings.json. Gemini MCP list shows all configured server and their connection status along with any errors. Gemini MCP remote permanently removes a server's configuration entry by name. Before we look at using connected servers, there are two security points worth understanding. First, credential handling. Gemini CLI automatically redacts sensitive environment variables before passing the environment to any MCP server subprocess. Variables matching patterns like token, secret, password, and key are stripped from the inherited environment. If a server needs a specific credential, you must pass it explicitly in the environment block of its configuration. That explicit declaration is treated as informed consent to share that specific value with that specific server. This means store your tokens in .environment file inside the .gemini folder in your home or your shell environment. Reference them with variable name in the config and never paste them directly into the JSON. Second, the trust option. Each server configuration can include trust is true, which bypasses all confirmation dialogues for that server's tool calls. Use this only for servers you completely control, your own local scripts for example. Never set trust on a third-party server. Once you have added a server configuration and started or restarted Gemini CLI, run /mcp to check the connection status. One thing you will notice the first time you start Gemini CLI after adding a server, a loading indicator appears during startup while it connects to your configured servers. This is normal. It means Gemini is establishing the connection before your session opens. The /mcp output shows every configured server, its connection state, and three sections: tools, resources, and prompts, listing everything the server has registered. One thing to know upfront, connection errors are silent at startup by default. If something is wrong, you will see a small hint message. MCP issues detected, run /mcp list for status. Rather than a loud error, run /mcp list to get the full diagnostic output for every server. The connection states you will see are connected, connecting, error, and disabled. If a server shows an error, run /mcp reload to force a fresh connection attempt. For remote servers using OAuth rather than static tokens, you will need to authenticate after startup. Run /mcp auth to see which servers are waiting for authentication. Then /mcp auth server name to trigger the browser-based OAuth flow for that server. If a token expires later, the same command re-authenticates. Once a server is connected and verified, its tools are available to Gemini exactly like built-in tools. You don't call them explicitly, you just describe what you want and Gemini decides which tool to use. You will notice MCP tool names in the session follow a specific pattern. Every tool is prefixed with MCP underscore and the server alias you defined in config. So a GitHub list issues tool appears as MCP GitHub list issues. This name spacing is automatic and prevents conflicts when multiple servers expose similarly named tools. With a GitHub server connected, what are the open issues in this repository labeled bug? Gemini will call the appropriate GitHub list issues tool, read the results, and give you summary. MCP resources, the data the server exposes, not the tools, are referenced with the at syntax. Just like local files, when you type at in the prompt, the completion menu shows both local file paths and resource URLs from connected servers side by side. Select a resource URL and its content is injected into the prompt when you submit. This is particularly useful for things like database schemas. If your Postgres MCP server exposes your schema as a resource, you can reference it directly. Gemini gets the actual current schema, not a description of it. If a connected server defines prompt templates, they become slash commands in Gemini CLI automatically. For example, if a server defines a daily stand-up prompt that queries your issue tracker and formats a summary, you invoke it with slash daily standup. These show up in the slash command autocomplete alongside built-in commands. It's a clean way to package common workflows that combine external data with a specific output format. From episode 6, you will remember that plan mode allows read-only MCP tools during the planning phase. This means if you have a GitHub server connected, you can do slash plan fix the regression described in issue 1. Gemini will read the issue, read the relevant code, and plan the fix, all in a single research pass without leaving plan mode. Or with a database server connected, slash plan migrate the orders table to add soft deletes. Gemini reads the current schema from the database server, reads the migration framework in your code base, and plans the migration. The read-only restriction holds. MCP write tools are not available during planning. They become available after you approve the plan and implementation begins. If you are setting up MCP for the first time, here is a practical starting point. GitHub is the highest value first server for most developers. Being able to read issues, create issues, list PRs, and check CI status from inside a Gemini session eliminates a significant amount of context switching. A database server for your project database is the second most impactful. Reading the live schema means Gemini generates SQL and migrations that match your actual tables, not approximations. Google Drive or Notion, if your team stores specifications, architecture docs, or requirements there, being able to reference a design doc directly in a plain mode session is a genuine workflow improvement. Start with one server, verify it works, understand how it behaves in your workflow, then add more. Don't configure 5 servers at once. You won't know which one is causing a problem if something goes wrong. So that's MCP server integration covered. The protocol, the 3 transports, configuration including tool filtering and OAuth. Credentials, the slash MCP command using tools in practice. How it ties into plan mode. In episode 8, we shift focus from code to broader file and image automation. How to use Gemini CLI for tasks that are not strictly development work. Processing documents, working with images, batch file operations, and building personal automation workflows. Drop any questions in the comments and see you in episode 8. Thanks for watching. I am Aksa Zafar and on MLTude, I teach data science and machine learning in a simple step-by-step way. Practice a little and I will see you in the next video. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to MLTude for more AI and machine learning tutorials.